Madam Whitesnake. Hello, this is Natasha, and the year 2013 is the Chinese New Year of the Snake. In fact, the Chinese New Year will be on the 10th of February. I say will, but of course Storynory's tales are forever, so by the time you listen to this recording, it might be truer to say that it was on the 10th of February. Bertie has found the most famous snaky story from China. It shows that snakes can be enchanting as well as scary. A long time ago, in the waters of China's famous West Lake, there lived a spirit. She took the form of a white snake, and for many years she practiced the most secret Taoist arts. She was an expert in the ritual form of fighting known as Tai Chi, in medicine and in meditation. All these she practiced in the cool, watery world of the lake with her friend, the green snake. Occasionally the snake spirits would look up through the crystal clear surface of the water to the land. They saw green hills, the blossoms of the trees, temples, wooden houses, pagodas, bridges, cheerful lanterns, and young people in love walking arm in arm. To them, the world of the humans seemed quite enchanting. After many years of leading the Taoist life, the snakes had gathered enough spiritual energy to transform their shapes. They decided to visit the human world in the form of two lovely young women. Naturally, one wore a white dress and the other wore a green one, but they did not choose the best day to venture ashore. As they were crossing the famous broken bridge, it is not broken at all, by the way, just named so, the rain started to fall. A young boy, whose name was Su Sheng, saw that the two ladies were shivering in their thin summer dresses. Like a true gentleman, he lent them his umbrella. "But surely you need it for yourself?" asked the lady in white. "Don't worry about me," replied the boy. "I'll hurry home, and I'll soon be dry. Keep it for now. You can meet me here tomorrow." At the same time, the following day, the girls met the young lad again by the broken bridge. They returned his umbrella, and the three passed the evening together. They strolled along the wooden sidewalks, looked into the shops, and visited the temple. An old priest with a long white beard gave them tea. The girl in green whispered to the boy, "My friend likes you very much. Will you ask her to marry you?" And the boy, who had few prospects in the world, replied, "I would like to very much, but my family is very poor. What shall we live on?" "Oh, don't worry about that," said the green girl. "My friend is very clever. She shall find a way to make sure that everything works out." And so the boy asked the girl in the white dress to marry him. She blushed, as was proper, and accepted his proposal. A week later they held a simple ceremony and a modest wedding feast. Little did the boy know that this charming new wife was, in fact, Madam Whitesnake. Madam Whitesnake put her knowledge to profitable use in the world of humans. She taught the boy about medicines. They collected herbs and insects, prepared remedies, and sold them in the markets. Soon they were rich enough to open their own shop. If people were very poor and unwell, they did not charge for their help. The better off gladly paid a handsome price to be rid of diseases or to heal wounds quickly. They were doing well and were very happy. The Dragon Boat Festival came. Su Sheng did not know it, but this noisy summer celebration was a dangerous time for his wife. While the red boats, decorated like dragons, raced over the water, the people drank white wine to drive away the spirits. If anyone had a wooden carving of a dragon, they placed a white paper snake in its mouth to ward off the venomous creatures. This did not make Madam Whitesnake feel very comfortable. She was, after all, both a spirit and a snake. In the evening, the celebration was still raucous. The drums were beating, cymbals clashing, and firecrackers popping. Su Sheng stood on the raised wooden veranda of their shop and looked over the crowds at the lake, where the dragon boats were carrying lanterns across the water. His wife hid inside, saying that the noise was too much for her. While he stood alone, taking in the scene, a monk in long robes climbed up the steps and stood next to Su Sheng. When the din died down a little, he said, "I have come to give you some important news. Listen to me well. I know who your beautiful wife really is. She has the form of a woman, but in truth she is a snake spirit from the lake." "What is this nonsense?" asked Su Sheng. "If you do not believe me," said the monk, "take a cup of wine indoors to her. She will be afraid to drink it, because wine is powerful against spirits." Su Sheng, seeing no harm in the idea, went inside and insisted that his wife try to buck herself up and join in the celebration. "Come on, just drink a little cup of wine with me," he urged. She should have pleaded that she had a headache and that she was not feeling well, but Madam Whitesnake did not want to disappoint her husband. She thought that perhaps she had developed enough power to withstand the effect of the wine. She took a sip from the cup and then another. She quite liked it, and she drank a third little sip and, alas! She felt her power weakening. In an instant later, she turned back into a snake. Her poor husband was so shocked that he fell down on the spot. An hour later, the green snake came looking for her friend and found that the boy was already dead. "But sister," she said, "you must know of a medicine that can bring him back to life." "There is only one," replied Madam Whitesnake. "There is a special mushroom that grows on the mountain of Kunlan. Unfortunately, it is guarded well by the old man of the south and his soldiers." The two friends slithered silently out of the town, taking care that nobody should see them. They made the long and arduous journey up the mountain, and near the top they found the place where the immortal mushroom grew. At first they worked their charm on the guards, but the soldiers were unmoved. Then Madam Whitesnake tried to slip past them, but she was caught by her tail. The green snake became a soldier in armour. Madam Whitesnake transformed herself in the same way, and for a while they danced around the guards with their swords, but it was clear that there was no way that they could reach the mushroom. At last, in despair, Madam Whitesnake called out, "Oh, old man of the south, I only need a little piece of the immortal mushroom to save the human boy whom I love." And the old man heard her, and he appeared out of the mists and said, "Since you have come for love, not profit, you may take a piece of the mushroom." The two friends raced back to the West Lake, where they again transformed themselves into beautiful ladies. Madam Whitesnake placed the piece of mushroom under the tongue of Su Sheng, and he gradually opened his eyes and saw the beautiful but pale face of his wife. "My love, I had the most terrible dream," he said. "I thought you were a snake." His wife was already prepared for this. She had transformed her white belt into a snake, and she pointed to it across the floor. "It was not wholly a dream," she said. "There is the snake you saw, but it is a harmless one, and it will not bite you." The good boy sat up, and in a short while he felt like he was his old self again. Little did he know that he had been dead for a whole day. But in his mind he could not quite rid himself of the vision of his wife changing into a snake. He believed her story, of course, but he also felt there was something not quite right. They carried on their life as before, and in the meantime Madam Whitesnake became pregnant. It was at this time that the evil monk tried once again to separate the happy couple. He sent a message to Su Sheng asking him to visit him at his temple on the Golden Mountain. Su Sheng still had bad dreams about the time his wife had changed into a snake. It is for this reason that he made the journey to the temple. When he arrived, the monk met him and said, "I told you before that your wife was a snake, but I failed to convince you. You did not even believe the evidence of your own eyes. Now I tell you that the mother of your future son is a snake, and he himself will be a spirit. Do you doubt my word? Does this information not trouble you?" Su Sheng replied that he would always love his wife and son, whatever they were. But he would not be fully happy until he knew the truth. "Then I shall show you the truth," declared the monk, and he gave orders that Su Sheng should not be allowed to leave the Golden Temple. It was not long before the two snakes arrived to demand the freedom of Su Sheng. They found that the temple was guarded by heavily armed monks and celestial soldiers. Lady Whitesnake was expecting a baby soon and was in no condition to fight. Su Sheng watched from the tower where he was held captive. He saw how the two women called up an army of strange underwater creatures, serpents, dragons, and giant bearded fish that walked on legs. This extraordinary band of slimy warriors stormed the walls of the temple, but were repelled by the monks. Next, they tried to divert a river to flood the temple, but the monks managed to make the walls waterproof. After a week of laying siege, Lady Whitesnake felt that it would be soon time for her to give birth. Her soldiers gathered around to give her cover as she retreated from the fray. But the battle was not in vain. During all the great commotion, Su Sheng managed to lower himself out of the window on a rope made of sheets. He slipped away through the smoke and noise and made his way home, where he found his wife and his new baby son, both in excellent health. And that really should have been the end of the story, but I am afraid the finale is not entirely happy. The monk did not give up so easily. He arrived at the home of the happy family together with a glowing soldier of heaven. There followed another fierce sword fight in which the green snake lady took on the heavenly soldier. Lady Whitesnake was still weak from giving birth, and oh, it is so sad to relate, but the evil monk overcame her with magic and whisked her away to the Thunder Peak Pagoda, where he imprisoned her under a great rock. That was the last that the good-hearted Su Sheng saw of his lovely snake spirit of a wife. But his son inherited his mother's powers, and when he reached manhood, he was determined to release her. Like his mother before him, he practiced the Taoist arts. 100 years passed before his powers were fully developed. Sadly, Su Sheng did not live to see how his son, allied with the Green Lady, gathered an army of mountain spirits and creatures and marched on the Thunder Peak Pagoda. A fierce battle raged, and this time the attackers were victorious. Lady Whitesnake was freed and reunited with her son and her loyal friend, the Green Snake. And so the end of this story of Madam Whitesnake is at least partly happy. I do hope that you enjoyed this ancient tale from China that was adapted for Storynory by Bertie. And Bertie's asked me to mention that Madam Whitesnake is often performed as a Chinese opera with music, masks, dancing and lots of spectacular action on stage. The places in the story, including the West Lake, the Broken Bridge and Thunder Peak Pagoda, are all real. And, of course, there are loads more free audio stories from China and from all over the world on Storynory.com. So for now, from me, Natasha, bye-bye!